In this guide to navigating your employee benefits, I'm going to talk through disability insurance, everything you need to know about it. So let's begin the conversation today with what is it? Well, disability insurance is a financial payout to you upon you not being able to work due to a disability, such as an injury or illness. And there's two types of disability policies. You have your own occupation and your any occupation. So under the own occupation standard, you need to prove that you can't perform the specific requirements of your job. So an example of this would be a warehouse worker who is required to lift heavy boxes with both of their arms as part of their job. Well, if they lost one of their arms, then they can file a claim for disability benefits based on the fact that they can no longer lift those boxes by only having one arm. So an own occupation definition is easier to qualify for because, again, you only need to prove you can't perform that job anymore due to the disability, and as a result, the premiums tend to be higher. Another fact about own occupation is you could receive two paychecks. So you could get your disability benefits, and then that warehouse worker could say switch to a consulting gig and use their brain rather than their arms and also receive the paychecks. Now, under any occupation, the payout requirement is a lot more strict because you have to prove that you can't perform any job for which you're reasonably qualified based on your education, age, and experience. So it's a lot more difficult to meet the any occupation definition. So as noted here, harder to qualify for any occupation because you just essentially have to say I can't perform any job out there, and as a result, the premiums tend to be less. Now let's talk a little bit about who needs disability insurance the most. First off, it's those that work in physically demanding or specialized jobs. So construction workers, nurses, physical therapists, where they're in the physically demanding jobs, have a higher risk of injury and therefore have a higher need of a disability policy. Also, those in specialized jobs, so people that use their hands like surgeons or dentists, for example, want to have disability in place. In addition to this would be those who have frequent injuries or illnesses, so they're more susceptible to not being able to work due to their injury proneness or having illnesses, and as a result should have the disability insurance in place. In addition to this would be those who financially support others. So if you are a parent and you have young kids that rely on your income for financial support, if you were to become disabled, it's critical that you have income coming in to support your family. So that's where disability insurance could come in to protect. And then finally, business owners and key employees. So if you are a business owner and the life of your business is reliant on you, if you become disabled, you want to make sure you have disability income coming in just to help keep your employees afloat and make sure the business continues throughout your disability. So now let's talk a little bit about the taxation of disability policies. Well, this depends on whether the employer paid the premiums, the employee paid the premiums, or the premiums were shared. So if your employer paid your disability premiums and you didn't pay any costs as the employee, then the benefits you receive under the disability insurance is taxable to you as the employee. So employer paid, taxable to you. Now, if you as the employee paid for the disability policy, then you receive those disability benefits tax-free. And then finally, if you paid a portion of the cost as the employee and then your employer subsidized a portion of the cost, then it's pro rata as far as the taxation. So you're not going to be taxed on the amount that you paid, but you'll be taxed on the amount that your employer paid. So now let's talk about some key terms when evaluating your disability insurance policy through your employer. The first is the cost. So as we talked about, sometimes employers can cover the cost. You may not have to pay anything for your disability insurance policy, or you may have to. So it's important to evaluate the cost. And then also understanding the difference between short-term and long-term. So short-term disability is going to pay for a short period of time, whereas long-term disability can pay for a much longer period of time, sometimes years up to your retirement in certain cases. In addition, you'll want to understand the actual details of your benefits. And there's some key terms to note here, such as the benefit period. So how long will your disability benefits be paid? What's the timeline there? What's your elimination period? So an elimination period is the amount of time you need to wait before the policy starts paying benefits. So it could be days, it could be months. you want to make sure you understand, because during that elimination period, you're not going to be paid out benefits. So it's important to have that safety net, that cushion in place for that time period while you're waiting for the disability benefits to be paid out to you. And then your benefit amount, of course, which is generally like a percentage of your salary prior to the disability that you would get upon filing the claim. And then finally, your max benefit amount. So there's typically a maximum disability benefit that the employer will pay you, the insurance company will pay you upon your disability. So now that we talked about those, let's wrap up with some considerations. Hinted at it already, but the cost. So if you are responsible for paying for your short-term and long-term disability as the employee, what's that cost? And can you fit that within your budget? So important to notate that. And then finally, portability. So if you change jobs, your disability insurance may not carry over. So if you need disability, it's important to make sure you look into electing that with your new employer. So hopefully that was helpful. I wrote an article that provides much more detail about disability insurance. So click the top right of this video to access it. And thank you very much.